Welcome back to Offroad Outlaws, guys, and today we're going to be diving into some more update news in terms of what's coming later on down the road, or it could be a little bit sooner than later in terms of the next Offroad Outlaws update. Now, we find ourselves in the limited edition dealership today having a look at this supercharged Shelby Raptor. Now, the reason why I'm showing this vehicle is I want you guys to look at the axles and the links, right? The axles and the suspension links in particular. And then now, I'm going to put on the screen a couple of pictures that the Offroad Outlaws developers shared on their Facebook page. Now, as you can clearly see, the axles in that photo are orange, and the suspension links are different colors as well. Whereas in-game, the axles are black and the suspension links are blue. So does that fully confirm that paintable axles and suspension links are actually coming to Offroad Outlaws in the next update? It sure seems that way. So let's go ahead and grab a vehicle and head out of the garage and actually do a little bit of driving. Now, before we do that, let's have a look at a vehicle like this, for example. This is one of my show truck builds, as you can clearly see by the large tires and the large, I did not mean to click on that, but the large wheels, the slightly low profile tires, and a lot of suspension lift. It's essentially designed to be a SEMA truck. Now, imagine what we could do on a truck like this if these axles and the suspension arms and links were actually able to be painted. Now, I don't know if they are to the point yet to where they would let you paint the coilovers. It doesn't seem like they are when we look at those photos of the Raptor. However, if you guys spot anything else interesting about that photo, make sure you also let me know in the comment section down below. Now, when I originally did my most recent video in terms of asking you guys what you would like to see in Offroad Outlaws, a lot of you guys actually said that paintable axles and suspensions were a big deal for you, especially when it came to doing show truck style builds and SEMA truck style builds, and I completely agree with you on that. I think that that's going to be a massive upgrade for the game itself. Now, let's hop into my Tundra TRD Pro real quick, but we're not going to hop into this one. We're actually going to go into the garage and get another one. Now, as far as jumping a little bit further ahead into future builds that we'll be able to do once the update releases, I'm definitely going to be doing some more, obviously, show truck builds, but outside of the realm of just show builds, I think that the idea of being able to paint suspensions and axles could possibly extend even farther along than just show trucks, right? Like, it could help you dial in a rig down to the exact specs that you want it, whether that is a Baja rig or an exploration rig or a rig that you use for role play or a rig that you use just to kind of, ride around with your friends. There's a lot to think about there, and there's a lot that goes into what this update potentially means. Now, we're actually going to go back to Twin Rivers Lake, and we're going to see what we can find out there. And while we're on our way, I think it's also important to talk about how all of that ties into the updates we talked about last time. Obviously, with customizable characters, customizable pew-pew devices, and things like that. Now, especially with the characters, I could honestly see people matching their character not only to their truck, but matching something about their character to their truck's painted suspension or painted axle setup. I know that sounds a bit awkward. I know that sounds a bit strange, but at the same time, stranger things have happened in terms of what people will actually use customization for in games like this. So let's go ahead and set off now. I'm going to go ahead and just lock everything in four-wheel drive, lock everything to do with the diffs, and we'll go ahead and continue. Oh God, ow, right into the fence, and all because I just wanted to zoom in. Now, another thing that I think they could add in terms of paintable suspensions and axles that I would like to see would be, even if they could do a whole frame. Now, I don't know, if you were to look under this Tundra, for example, it would be awesome if we could paint not even the control arms themselves, but maybe this cradle right here. That I think would be really, really cool if we could paint maybe the suspension cradle, or maybe the coilovers, maybe the shock bodies. Not really worried about the drive shafts. I mean, drive shafts, I'm not really concerned about painting them anyway, but it would be nice to be able to actually paint the springs on the coilovers, because let's say you were to paint that axle red, maybe, and then you painted this arm like a dark gray or something. you would probably want to paint the springs on the coilovers gray as well to match it up, or at least I would. That's kind of where my mind goes with that. I like to have certain aspects of the suspension matched up in terms of the paint, but in other ways, it's nice to be able to have that color contrast and sometimes have one, maybe yellow, the other one gray or green or blue. It really is all entirely up to you guys how you would do that. But let me know in the comment section down below how you would go about painting different suspension parts and what types of suspension and chassis parts you would like to be able to paint. Now, that goes even further when you start talking about monster trucks and mud trucks that have entire custom frames, like basically, entire scaffoldings essentially underneath the truck, which if you're able to paint that brings the game into a whole nother aspect of customizability, because then you're going to have people customizing their mud trucks to levels that are way beyond anything that we've seen before. Now, I think this is also going to take the element of truck shows in Offroad Outlaws way up to the next level, because once you give people more things to customize and more ways to customize their rigs, you give them a lot more reason to host car shows, truck shows, truck meets. I mean, I guess there's cars in this game as well, so you could say car shows, car meets, or truck meets, truck shows, but essentially, when you give people more things to customize and more reason to customize their vehicle, you then add more variety into the game as a whole, which creates not only more replayability. Oh my god! I don't know what we hit, but I'm good, I guess. But not only do you add more replayability, more customizability, but you also add just all across the board more ways for people to make their vehicles their own, and more ways to connect with their in-game experience and their in-game character should they be doing an RP. Now, I'm actually going to go back to the road because I thought there was going to be an area to cross over there, and it turns out there was definitely not. Now, okay, that's a little bit better. Let me see, do we have any damage? Just a little bit, so we'll go ahead and get that repaired. Now, once this update releases, what is the first thing that you guys are going to dive into? What is the first thing that's going to make you go, oh my god, I need to dive into that? Is it going to be the character customization? Is it going to be the customizable suspension colors and axle colors and things like that? Is it going to be something else entirely? Or is it something that you're hoping to see that hasn't happened just yet? I was actually very interested in the variety of ways that people received the whole character customization addition to the game, because there were a lot of people that were like, wow, that's such an incredible addition, and there were other people that were like, I'm not so sure about that. We need more trucks. We need more truck customization. We need more truck sounds. I'd rather have those things than character customization, which is a good point, because while character customization is going to be an awesome addition to the game, it would definitely be awesome to have some more truck sounds. I think truck sounds are definitely something that the game could use. Like, new truck sounds are something the game could use, and I think that those could be a really nice addition to the customization, because honestly, I think it would be incredible to get to pick the way your truck sounds, right? When you're building your truck, when you're building your engine, like, let's say you put a diesel engine into it. Like, for example, this Tundra has been diesel swapped, and let's say you go to put a diesel engine in a truck like this that maybe started off with a gas engine. Once it's fully built, once it's fully upgraded in terms of engine performance, then let's say you maybe have 3, 4, 5 different engine sounds that you can select from. And same with gas engines. Once you have a fully built gas engine, you have 3, 4, 5 engine sounds that you can select from that sound different at idle, they sound different under throttle, and they sound different at high revs. Now, whether or not you could customize the specifics of those sounds, like selecting your own specific idle, your own specific rev sound, that might start to get into an area where it would be a little bit over the top and a little bit too much for the game to handle. Because remember, they're also trying to keep this game applicable to mobile platforms, right? Like, mobile platforms are where this game is played. Now, obviously, I am playing it on a PC using an Android emulator, but essentially, the game still thinks that it is being played on an Android tablet. So with that in mind, there are a lot of things that I think people want, especially in terms of sounds, and I didn't know this personally, but sounds, like, until I talked to a couple of mod creators for other games, sounds, and especially custom soundtracks and custom sound files, actually take up a lot of memory usage in a lot of games. So with that in mind, memory is one of the most precious things to a game's experience in general because, you know, keeping that memory usage down is what allows a game to run better, especially on older devices. And in Offroad Outlaws' case, they're trying to run well on everything from brand new mobile devices to mobile devices from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And, you know, when you're trying to be able to run on that wide of a range of devices, there's always going to be certain little things that you're going to have to think about in terms of like, okay, will this work well on this device? Will this work well on this device? And will we be able to stay within the confines of what a device like this can actually do? And I think that that's what sometimes, you know, people don't always fully get. Now, I didn't always get that. I really didn't. And I think the more I've gotten in, you know, in depth with both the modding communities for different games on PC and talking to different developers for games that are available both on mobile platforms and elsewhere, memory is always one of the biggest concerns, and custom sounds are something that I never realized actually consumed as much memory as they did. Now, I don't know if that's the case here on Offroad Outlaws. I don't know if that's the case like in terms of all mobile games, but that is just speculation on my part, so take that as you will. But again, with that being said, though, that's not to say that I don't want to see custom sounds in Offroad Outlaws, because I absolutely do. It is honestly one of the things that I would love to see more than anything else, but at the same time, it doesn't, you know, like seeing things like character customization also does not bother me. It doesn't make me think that, oh, they're abandoning one thing to do something else. I think a lot of people end up seeing certain features, like, for example, the character customization, and they're like, oh my god, you're abandoning trucks, you're abandoning customization, you're abandoning all these other things just to do characters, when I think the more they've rolled out in terms of like little tidbits of what the next update is going to feature, it's very clear that they have not abandoned anything else in the game while they're working on characters, especially the element of customization, considering the fact that they're doing the customizable axles, suspension links, and hopefully even more. Now, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below on what you would like to see in the next Offroad Outlaws update, because, I mean, heck, a lot of people in my last video were saying that they would love to see paintable suspension links and axles, and oh my god, what did the developers just show us? Paintable suspension links and axles. So, I'm not saying that, obviously, I'm not saying that that was the reason for it, but at the same time, we have no idea what could be in the works, because, you know, if someone had said to me like a while back that like, oh yeah, they're working on paintable suspensions and axles, I would have been like, are you sure? But apparently they are, and I think that that not only gets me hyped about what they're doing with that itself, but it also gets me really hyped about what else they could have behind closed doors that they're working on for the update. But that is going to do it for this video, guys, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Talk to you all later.